Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We've had a lot of coffee this morning for Brew'n business already, so we're pretty excited to be here today. But really quick, I just want to introduce myself. If you don't know me, I'm Susie Kenner. I'm the director for the Chamber and Tourism. Our staff, we have Miranda Shinley in the back, who's going to be videotaping this today, and she's our marketing and communication coordinator. So anything that comes out via email or any of our newsletters, which if you're not signed up for our newsletters, please do that. She's the one behind that. We have Ruth McBride. She is our event and membership coordinator, so you'll get emails from her for sponsorship correspondence and anything relating to our membership. And then we have Ann Pollert, who is our speaker today, and she is here with the Chamber of Commerce on behalf of our Regional Impact Workforce Retention Grant. We have two, so I always have to think about which one we're working on. So she's part of our retention grant. So just want to introduce our team to you, and we have a great presentation today. It is Change Your Paradigm. So Ann is going to get us started here in a couple minutes to talk about that. And we were going to have Ryan Hansen here, and he might still pop in from the school to talk a little bit on how you can get engaged with our youth. But if not, Ann can take that over for him if he's not able to make it. And then we always like to do a little Ruth's reminders at the end of the session, just to talk about some things coming up with the Chamber of Commerce. And then we will end it with some questions, answers, and a wrap up. So let's get started. First, we want to know one thing you want to learn today. If you pull up your phone and answer the question on there, and I think you have to hit the box, if I'm not mistaken, but let us know one thing you want to learn today.
You're welcome.
Come on in.
We are a very informal group.
Yes. And honestly, while Ann's talking today, feel free to interrupt, raise your hand, ask her any questions. She has a wealth of knowledge. She's been in the workforce industry for quite some time. She was a recruiter with General Equipment out of the Fargo area, but really works statewide or region-wide in the Midwest. So she has a lot of knowledge to give you all today.
And I'm going to teach you everything I know.
Love it. Culture, retention, culture improvement, something we need a little bit of. New workforce needs. Engagement. Oh my God, now I lost my train. Where am I? You can read them. Perfect. All right. I'm going to turn it over to Ann.
Fantastic. Thank you, Susie. You live in the greatest state there is in the nation. How many agree?
On days like today?
Keeps up the riffraff.
Look at all the optimists that immediately rose their hand.
I had to say it, come on.
And you work in the greatest state in the nation. How many would agree? But we have workforce needs. How many would agree? Right. So North Dakota is, in my opinion, the greatest state in the nation. When you look at this is from Governor Armstrong's welcome here. We are number 5 in best place to find a job. We are number 3 in happiest workforce. We are number 2 in best state for families, number 1 in crops, and number 3 in crude oil. We have great things happening here. We are a safe state. We are a relatively inexpensive state, right? We have great things happening in North Dakota. But one of our struggles is no different than any other state in the nation, and that's workforce. So that's what we're here to talk about. I, as Susie said, did recruitment for about 10 years. I love recruitment. I love figuring out what people want to do with their lives. Yesterday I was talking to this guy. He was in banking for 25 years. He got bored and he went to work for a company that basically does asphalt roads, mail construction in Cavalier, North Dakota. I love to hear stories like that. I love career exploration. I love trying to help people figure out, even if they're not in high school, like what's the right career for them? Where's the right fit for them? And to me, that is one of your workforce solutions, is finding the right people for your company, for your culture. People love numbers. I don't get it. I'm not a number person. You people are weird to me. I had to do math here this morning and it caused me way more anxiety than this presentation is going to cause me, right? That's not my thing, but like helping people figure out what is their thing, what will bring them joy. Look at how much time we spend at work. We spend a ton of time at work, right? Can work be fun and joyful and woohoo all the time? Absolutely not, but we spend a lot of time there. So work shouldn't be miserable. It should be something you enjoy doing, something you look forward to doing, something you find value in. So some stats on North Dakota, 796,000 people live here. I hear all the time, where did all the people go? They didn't. We have more people here than we did. So, fun fact, North Dakota population in 1930 was 680,000. Today, it's 796,000. We stayed steady for a long time, but since 2020, we've had about 17,000 new people come to North Dakota. So North Dakota is growing. We are number 4 for fastest growing states. So fastest growing state is Utah, 1.6%, Idaho, 1.66, Texas, 1.52, North Dakota, 1.18. So we grew 9,400 people last year. So we are growing. There are more people here. Are they filling our workforce needs? No, they're not. So what do we have to do? We have to be innovative in order to figure out how we're going to make that happen. I also hear, oh, there's people that are just sitting around doing nothing. That is complete baloney. Our unemployment rate this was about 2 weeks ago when I was doing this. It was end of December. Unemployment rate is 2.1%. Realistically, we don't have an unemployment rate. Those 2.1% are people that are maybe homeless, maybe mentally ill. Those people aren't necessarily people that are gonna come to your companies and fill your roles. They're just not at that level yet. We hope we get them there, but they're not at that level yet. So realistically, there's not oodles of people out there looking for work, right? And there's not oodles of people out there sitting there doing nothing either. So we need people. So unemployment claims in Ramsey County were 12 that week. So there's a total of 72, if it hasn't changed in the past few weeks, people on unemployment in the county of Ramsey County. And guess what? 25 of them are construction workers that are basically on unemployment short term. So there's not people out there. So if you think that you're gonna put an ad out and you're gonna hire all your people and fill your positions, it's not gonna happen. There isn't people out there to fill all those positions. And it's not a problem specific to North Dakota. Like I said, the entire nation is struggling just like we are. So today we're gonna talk about changing your paradigm. And what is that? Like your paradigm is how you think and how you, it's your thoughts, it's your approach, it's your beliefs, right? You believe that you should put your application out there and people should know what a fantastic place you are to work and they should just apply and come work with you because you're awesome and you're fun to work with and you work for a great company, right? There's a lot of companies out there that are great companies. Do you write in your ad, we're looking for a motivated self-starter, someone ready to dive in, take action, hard worker? Is that what's in your ad? Because who's not looking for that, right? That's not gonna catch somebody's interest. Everyone is looking for those exact same people. So today we're gonna talk about some of your mindsets. We're gonna talk about how you react to workforce. We're gonna talk about how you recruit, your focus, your target, your application and interview process. When's the last time you sat down and filled out your application? Are you having people do that once in a while? Are you asking for feedback on that process? We're gonna talk about your onboarding process. We're gonna talk about your culture. You can ask me anything you want. Anything that I have experience in, I will share. You can interrupt me. We can talk about, your specific process. Anything you want relating to these things is what I want to help you learn about today based on what I know. And I wanna learn from you guys too, because this is my jam. Like I love workforce, figuring it out. Engaging people. Like when I started, I worked for a great company called General Equipment and Supplies. I worked there for 10 years recruiting diesel technicians. I started their program at NGSCS. So they decided after years of banging their head against the wall, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? So they were hiring all these people, they were hiring mechanics from other dealers, they were stealing from other companies, they were even hiring from out of state and putting them out in Williston, North Dakota and saying, come work here, this is great. How long did they stay? They went through so many employees. So they decided to change their focus, change their target, and they changed it to growing their own employees. So they hired a recruiter who went out and recruited in high schools to grow their employees, to introduce them to the culture right out of high school, to have them work over the summer, to send them to school, to guarantee them a job, to do all of that. So they had to change their focus because what they were doing was not working. Their turnover was crazy. They went through mechanics. And if you know mechanics, like there's a lot of, to get them up to speed. If you get a guy from another color, man, you gotta teach him all your schematics, your hydraulics, electric. I mean, they're a mechanic, they can figure out how to do it, but there's a lot of investment in training that. So they're constantly losing people, and they decided to focus on growing their own. So we can talk a little bit about that too. And we're gonna talk about your culture, which is huge. So how do you react to the workforce challenges that you have? Do you complain? Do you say, oh, we're short-staffed, oh, we don't have enough people? It's hard not to complain, because it's probably on all of your minds every single day. Does complaining get us anywhere? No. Blaming, complaining, it just doesn't get us anywhere. Are you doing the same thing you've always done? Are you putting, I joked earlier, there was is it Andy Wakefield or Wakeford? I always get that mixed up. He was in here. And I said, so when you hire people, do you just put an ad in the Devil's Lake Journal? No, that doesn't work. When was the last time any of you put an ad? You have to change the way you're recruiting. That doesn't work. Did that work 20 years ago? I bet it did. I bet you put an ad in the journal that you were hiring and you got 30 applications, right? Now I hear people say all the time, like, we've had a job opening for a month and haven't got a single application. Where's it at? It's on our website. How do people know it's on your website? How do you get people there? But we don't think through that process because we've never really had to. For years and years, we've had a job opening and people apply. What changes have you made and what have you tried? Have you changed your process for trying to find people? I talked to a business yesterday and like their process is word of mouth, and you guys, it's working for them. Like, do they need a few people? Yeah, but it's not extensive, it's manageable. And it's a lot of word of mouth. That's what works for them. I'm not saying that's gonna work for everyone. I'm not saying, you know, a lot of the examples I give you today might not work for your organization because your organization is unique. But what I'm trying to do is get your mind going like, okay, let's think about what she said and how it applies to us. How do we do that? How are you advertising? That's changed a ton too. How do you recruit? Are you changing with the times? Where are you recruiting? Where are your next workers? Some people do a referral bonus. Some people don't believe in a referral bonus. Some people do a sign-on bonus. Some people don't believe in a sign-on bonus. Again, you have to figure out what works for you. The organization that I used to work for, they did a referral bonus to the employee. They didn't do sign-on bonus. And diesel technicians, like, dude, you can get $10,000, $20,000 sign-on bonus. You gotta read the fine print, but they're out there. They didn't believe in that. They thought that those were the people that were gonna continue to move jobs, but they did believe in compensating employees. So if I'm out somewhere and somebody says, you know, I really am not happy here. Like, oh, well, this is where I work, you know, that, I don't want you to be leave, I'll split the sign-on bonus with you, and, you know, we can do the, no, that's not, but they do want people to recruit people that they wanna work with. Like, you wanna work with like-minded people. You wanna work with people that you have things in common with, that you relate, that work as hard as you. Nobody wants to work alongside that guy that's not pulling his weight, right? That sucks. And that brings morale way down, and that really impacts your culture. So using your employees is one of your best recruitment tools. How many of you love where you work, like truly love where you work? Probably most of you in this room, right? So it's easy to say, like, I love what I'm doing. I love the people that I'm working with. Those are some of your best recruiters, is your employees. And they don't, you know, you don't even think of them. You don't maybe encourage, like, how many of you have monthly meetings and say, hey, this is the number of openings we have. If you know anyone, do your employees know how bad you need people, how bad you want people, what opportunities there are within the company? Some probably do, some probably don't. Are you tracking where your hires are coming from? You know when you get a new hire, oh my gosh, she was a great client, she's gonna be awesome. Where did she come from? How did she hear about you? Was it an employee? Did she see it on social media? What do your ads say? There are some freaking creative marketing people out there. There was a Harley Davidson ad not that long ago, and it had a torque spit, and it said, if you know what this is, we're looking for you. They weren't looking for me because I didn't know what a torque spit was, but I read the fine print. But I mean, that caught my interest, right? They aren't looking for me. They're looking for who knows what that, and that's creative. That caught somebody's attention, right? What do your job descriptions say? If I'm going to leave a good job, which people do, there's no doubt, but what do your job descriptions say? I want you to create, again, there's some master marketing minds out there, and it's not me, but I want you to create a visual of what I'm doing. If I'm gonna switch jobs, or if I'm gonna look for a different career, I want you to create a visual of the environment I'm working in, a visual of what I'm doing every day. I wanna know some of the perks of doing that. Like, look at your job descriptions. Our job descriptions, like until we looked at them, they sucked, right? Have you guys ever heard of AI? AI is amazing when it comes to job descriptions. You're looking for a word, ChatGPT knows that word. I put diesel technician into ChatGPT, looking for a job description for diesel technician. It was probably 80 to 85% there. Now, did I have to change things, and this sentence doesn't make sense, and no diesel technician wants a cheerful work environment, but it was 85% there. So use resources like that to rewrite those job descriptions as a tool, not as the end all be all, but as a tool. Because there's a lot of resources in there to make your job descriptions better. And have the people that are doing the job, is this really what you're doing? Because people do, they're creating that in their mind. What are they going to be doing? Especially if they're not familiar with your business. Does the community know who you are and what you do? We're doing 20 business videos as part of the grant I'm working on with Susie, and I want people to know when they drive by Western equipment, like, what do they do inside those walls? I know when I drive by Ironhide that they sell Bobcats, pretty obvious to me, right? But what I don't know is they do marketing, they do payroll, they do HR, they do all of that within that too. I know Devils Lake sells cars, but what else do they do? I bet they have accountants, I bet they, all of those positions. So does the community know what your business does beyond the obvious, right? But better yet, do students. We're gonna talk a lot about students today. Hopefully Ryan can join us for a little bit, but do students know what you're doing? Where is your future workforce? Right now, where is your future workforce? For some of you, not for all of you, but for some of you, they're sitting in high school. And it's not too early to start getting to know them. Help them with career exploration. How many of you had career exploration when you were a kid? 2 in this room. A lot of us didn't, right? Nobody came into my classroom saying, you can be this, and you can be this, and you can be this, and you can do this, and you can do this. There are so many opportunities that kids don't even know about, you guys. There are so many jobs out there that they've never heard of, that they don't even know that they would be good at, right? So we as a community, especially a small community, we have to help those kids with that career exploration. Show them the opportunities that are out there. Show them what they can do. That's part of the retention grant I'm working on with Susie. I want to keep our Devils Lake kids here. Are all Devils Lake kids gonna stay here? No, they're not, and that's okay. But would more stay here if we as a community invited them to stay? If we did that career exploration, if we had opportunities, if we met them when they were in high school and said, hey, come do your co-op with us, or come do this, or come learn about our company. All of a sudden they have this relationship. And even if they do have to go away to school to learn whatever they're learning, they're gonna come back and they're gonna maybe intern, whatever. So my goal is to help Devils Lake retain some of those students. Is there great opportunities in Devils Lake? Can you imagine if a young man or a young woman wanted to be an electrician, a plumber, a diesel technician? Do you think they have opportunities in Devils Lake? Holy cannoli, do they have opportunities in Devils Lake to come back to learn from someone to start their own business? The opportunities are here. But do kids think that? No. They want to get the hell out of here because there's nothing to do, right? Is there a lot to do in Devils Lake? I see the chamber calendar, it's out of control. There is stuff going on every night. So, if, you know, like helping kind of change kids' paradigm of Devil's Lake and the Devil's Lake community as well. So, how do you recruit? Has that changed? What does that look like? What makes sense for you? Where are your next employees? Okay. I just want to make sure. Oh, and then one thing I forgot to talk about in the last slide is your impression. What is your impression in the community? Are you a good place to work? Do people know that? Do, you know, think about the impression you make just with your ad. If you put an ad in the Devil's Lake Journal and say, I'm looking for a motivated self-starter, blah, 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 what kind of impression does that make? Does that show you as an innovative company that somebody should want to jump ship and go move? No. So think about the impression you're making with your ads, with your job descriptions, with all that you're doing. You're making an impression on people that might potentially come work for you. Where's your focus in your target, and has that changed? Like at General Equipment, our focus was really focused on, it was focused on recruiting, but it was also focused on retaining. We did not want to lose our good employees. We did not want to see a diesel technician that was with us any period of time, but 5 to 7 years, leave us to go make $2 an hour more somewhere else. We could not have that happen. So it was really focused on retaining your employees, making sure that your compensation is where it needs to be, making sure that your employees are being challenged, making sure they like their job. How do you do that? Like we did a lot of that with exit interviews. Like if someone left, we wanted to know why. And we hoped that we talked to them before we got to the exit interview phase. You know, we want them, hey, this sucks. Can you do anything about this? Like mechanics all the time, I do not want to hear you're leaving if you haven't talked to them. And if you want to leave, let's look at that together. And if that's the best opportunity, by gosh, I'm going to tell you to do that. But I'm going to try like heck to make any changes we need to do to keep you. So a lot of people, you know, there are more people, spend some of that time that you're out looking for those employees, spend it on focusing on how do we retain our good people. Benefits packages, compensation, and I know it's hard to compete. There's a lot of small businesses in Devil's Lake. It's hard to compete with some of the benefits and some of the things that other companies can offer people, but do your best and bring what you can to make sure that you are trying to retain your best employees. Where are your future employees now? We talked about that. They're probably in high school. How many do you need? So a lot of people are like, oh, we need 2 people, but maybe you need 4 people to do 2 people's job because you're not gonna find those people. So do you have some flexibility in hiring more people to get the work done? Is there some flexibility? Work from home, it's a hot topic. It doesn't work for everyone. I'm looking at a lumber yard right now. I doubt working from home works very well for you guys, right? I wasn't an advocate of working from home. My diesel technicians had to come to work in order to get paid. They couldn't work from home. It was not fair for me to be like, oh, it's 16 below, I'm gonna work from home today. That wasn't fair. I needed to be there because they needed to be there in order to get paid. It doesn't work for everyone. But for some people it does work for, and for some people it's a huge incentive. Part of General Equipment, they decided that one department would get 1 day, I can't even remember if it was per week, that you could work from home. So having some of that flexibility, for some it works, for others it doesn't. You have to decide. But that is an incentive for some people. Like the culture has changed a lot. People do want to have some of that flexibility. Growing your own, that's the example I gave with General Equipment. High school programs. Do you guys know what DECA is? DECA is amazing. That's what DECA is. The marketing, the innovation, the creativity in that program, it's freaking unreal. FFA programs, Skills USA programs. There's a lot of high school organizations, what would you call it? Student organizations, I bet that's what they're called, that have a lot of great kids in them. So get to know those organizations. Are you spending time at the high school? I'm not gonna talk about what Ryan is gonna talk about in case he does show up, but are you spending time at the high school? Are you getting to know your future employees? Because again, they're probably at the high school right now. So are you getting to know them? Are you partnering with the high school? Are you telling students who you are and what your business is? College programs. A lot of, like, diesel is really ahead of the game when it comes to recruiting. They've always been very innovative. If you go down to NDSCS, there are 4 different manufacturers that have their own programs at NDSCS. So you learn John Deere, you learn Case, you learn Komatsu, or you learn Caterpillar, right? They've created college programs for people to recruit and run people through. But that doesn't mean that you can't work with a local college like here and create a program for your company. What does that curriculum look like? So when we recruited juniors, seniors in high school. We mentored them 2 years all through college. I was down there buying lunch. I was walking into classrooms with Mountain Dew. They thought I could see their grades, their schedule. They would text me saying they're missing class. No, I just had a relationship with those teachers. I mean, I could do that. Like, they knew we were watching. We weren't watching as much as they thought we were watching, but they knew we were watching, right? Those were kids that were going to come work for us. You can do that. It doesn't need to be a development of a whole program, but do that with college kids. Mentor them, talk to the college. I guarantee they would be willing to design a program where kids are on co-op or whatever, internships, all of that. Use that to create a program for you to go out and recruit. Okay, time for you to interact. How can your application or interview process be improved? You tell me. Answers are anonymous. It's going to take so long for the answers to come. Needs to be shortened. Questions need to be tailored to job department. It needs to be more consistent. You are both right. Is your application off-site interviews? Oh, that's absolutely, oh my gosh. Nothing's worse than everyone in the company knowing you applied for a job and you didn't get it. Because they saw you were in the conference room with the interview committee. Standardized questions, branded with consistency. Everything needs to be branded. Your branding is your impression. Like, brand everything. Put your name on freaking everything. I'm a Devil's Lake Chamber. I'm a Firebird. Put your brand on everything. We're going to talk about all those things. What do you need? Don't ask more. You think people are going to apply for jobs on computers like they used to, like you and I did? No. A lot of people are applying for jobs on your phone. Can they apply for your company on their phone? Is your app mobile friendly? Is your application mobile friendly? Oh my gosh, if they have to print something and fill it out and get it back to you, there are people that, nope, process over, not gonna do it, can't do it, don't have the resources to do it. A lot of people are doing everything on their phones, or tablets or iPads, not on computers. Make it easy. Do tours. Like, if somebody comes and drops off an application, and again, not all of you are the same size company, but if somebody comes, drops off, hey, can I give you a 10-minute tour? Can I walk you around the building? You just made an impression on that person. You now can walk somebody around and say, this does this, this does this, and they're like, either they're like, wow, I really want to work here. Or, I mean, again, you made some kind of impression on that person. Make an impression with your application. Think of all the things. Take a look at your application. Do you need all that information? Why are you asking it if you don't need it? Might you eventually need some of that stuff? Yeah, if you hire them. But there's a lot of stuff probably on our applications that we don't need to get them an interview. So make it as simple. Have it be branded just like you said. Have it be making an impression. Have it tell a little bit about you. If you have core values, make sure your core values are on your application and they're reading them. Like, hey, these are our core values. Do these align with yours? Simple checkbox, yes or no. Boom. Now they know your core values. Make an impression with your interview process. How do you guys interview?
Sorry, I thought I turned it off.
No worries. Like, do you have a core group of questions? Can you go off of those core group of questions? Do you do unique things in the interview? Do you offer a tour when they come in for an interview? Holy cows. I know a lot about nerves in high school kids, and if I would walk around before we would sit down and talk, the nerves were unreal. The nerves go away. They see big equipment, they're like, yes, they talk to a few mechanics. First, me sitting down and having a conversation with them before we do that, unreal. If you wanna get someone to talk, you know, you look at a candidate and you're like, oh, that Lisa girl, she's good, but Lisa freezes up when she gets in your office, and you know this, right? So how do I get Lisa to talk? Ask her something that she really wants to talk about, like your favorite vacation spot, or you know, something that you know that she, just ask her random questions just to get her to ease up, because then you're gonna have a better interview. Think about interviews. If you, yes,
Can I interrupt?
of course you can.
Ryan Hansen had a great thing when, at the school, in one of our, committee meetings that we had, and I think was so cool, but when he brings in a teacher to interview, he actually sends them to a student first. There's like a couple of students that take the interviewee around the school that they're interviewing for, and they give them a tour of the school, and they interact with this teacher, and the teacher can ask the student questions. They can tell this teacher a little bit about the culture of their school, or what the students like or don't like, and then when the students are done with them, they go into the interview process with the school board, principal, whoever, and by that time, they're comfortable, they know about the school culture, they're better able to answer the questions, and I just think that's so cool, you know, and so how can we pull that into our communities and our jobs? You know, maybe for a department, they get a tour from somebody in that department, they get to know them a little bit, puts them at ease, and then they go into that interview process. I just thought that was so cool. I didn't know
And
they
what
did
does that say to a prospective teacher? That they're already engaging their students in the interviews process. Like, that's a place I wanna work, like they're being innovative, right? They're not just pulling me in with the superintendent, principal, sitting me in the conference room. They're being innovative, so, yeah, that's a great example. And like, you have to handle everyone with care. Like, your application, if you get an application and you're gonna wait 2 weeks to contact that person, you failed. Cause in 2 weeks, they can have any other job they want. That's an old standard. You have to change your paradigm. If you think that, oh, I left them a voicemail. People don't always check voicemails. Should they? Absolutely, and they should. But I knew that I texted diesel technicians a lot more than I left voicemails. If they didn't answer their phone, if I called them and they didn't answer their phone, hey, it's Ann. Can you give me a call back when you get done with class for the day? They're gonna check a text, right? And now we're on to Snapchat, right? But it's okay to not leave voicemails anymore, to make things a little less formal, to say like, hey, should we walk around and do a quick tour? Like, make an impression on those people and handle each one of them with care. Every application you get, most applications you get, like, really make sure that this is someone you do or don't want. And it takes a lot more time, right? But you're not getting 30 applications like you used to. So each one, what do we know about this person? Well, you know, what kind of impression, I keep saying impression, but what kind of impression are we making? Whose market is it right now? Is it job seekers market? 100%, right? People can work anywhere. There are so many opportunities for people. So the better impression you make, the more time you take to make an impression, to engage them, to help them learn about your business, to make it look like it's a great school to teach at or a great place to work. You utilize those techniques. I just talked about that. In your interview process, tell them what's unique about you. I brought, in the end of my career with General Equipment and Supplies, we had mechanics in some of the interviews. Holy cows. Putting a mechanic in with another mechanic brings those nerves way down compared to a VP of service and an HR person and this recruiter. All of a sudden there's someone on my level here, and I can talk nerd language, and I can ask nerd questions, and it makes the interview way more productive. You know, and that's a hard sell. Again, that's changing your paradigm. Like, are we really gonna have one of our techs in on those interviews? Well, holy cows, nobody knows those jobs like those techs. And so if a guy really wants to know what he's going to be doing, here's a guy in the interview to help him understand what he's gonna be doing. So there's a lot of value in interview and application process. Okay, on to onboarding. How can your onboarding be improved? mentorship program? Involve more of the company in the first week, I love it. What is onboarding? We can do so much better, help. Consistent and thorough, absolutely. Call before start date, got something even better. More involvement with all departments. Time set aside by superior to focus on a smooth transition into the job. What? Time set aside by superior to focus on a smooth transition into the job by actual training. Tell me what that means.
Sometimes I've seen it where like someone will get hired and then they just show up that day, and then
There's no
the
plan in place.
superior, like, they just say, have fun.
There's no plan in place. They're not ready for you. Yep, absolutely. Yep. Onboarding is huge. It's not your first impression, your application is your first impression, but this is your first impression on an employee. The company that I went to work for, I did not meet my boss for 1 week, and they are so much better now. But for 1 week, I didn't meet my boss. Don't make that impression. Okay? Show that you're ready for them to start. So onboarding is directly tied to retention. So if they're not ready for you to start, if your superior's not ready, if there's no game plan, you immediately are probably thinking this place is a dumpster fire, right? So you need to make sure that onboarding and it takes a lot of time, but it has to be done and it has to be done well. Onboarding should take how long? Up to 1 year minimum, 1 year minimum. You're constantly, and I would send notes to people, I would put it on your Outlook calendar, 60 day, 90 day, 1 month, whatever, but what is your plan for onboarding? And it's gonna look different for every single position. And I don't want you to be like, oh, the first day we take them around and we introduce them to every single person. Oh yeah, they remember 2 names. Like that's completely the wrong thing to do on the first day, depending on your size of your company. But the first day is really hard for them. They're not putting it all together. Man, but by Friday, it's Friday afternoon and you can pop in with some popcorn and talk to a few people and all of a sudden it's like, how was your week? Now this person has questions. Now this person wants to know what Margaret does and understand. Day 1, they're like, oh my God, how do I remember all these names? How do I remember everything they do, right? So putting together a really good onboarding plan will directly tie to retaining that employee. Being ready for them, having everything branded. We used to call people, hey, it's Wednesday, you're starting on Monday, what questions do you have? Then maybe on Friday, hey, we're so excited to have you join us on Monday, come to this door. Where do I park? Like, people worry about weird stuff. Where do I park? Am I supposed to bring my lunch? How long do I have for lunch? Sometimes companies fail as to tell somebody what time they're supposed to be to work. Does everyone start at 7 or do people start at 8? Or, who's gonna meet me there? Have somebody meeting them, have somebody in charge of that onboarding, meeting them at the door, welcoming them. Let everyone know, if you can, again, depending on the size of your company, that there's a new employee starting. So then they're ready. How are your employees introducing themselves when you walk around with that employee? Hey, here's Lisa, she's starting today. I would always get up and I would be like, hi Lisa, I'm Ann, nice to meet you. Congratulations, you're working for a great company. That eases Lisa's nerves. Okay, good, I made the right decision, right? Because it's a big deal to switch jobs, right? So helping utilize employees on welcoming new people and making people feel comfortable. And not just their superior. Sometimes their superior is hard for them to relate to, where Lisa just wants to ask me questions like, is what I'm wearing today okay? Nobody told me how to dress. Some people just it's easier for Lisa to ask me that than it is maybe her superior. She's working at a bank, can I wear this? Just giving them someone to relate to, giving them, like someone said, having a mentorship program.
I always tell the story of when I started for Devil's Lake Cars, my job it didn't exist before, so everybody was kind of feeling things out. And the first 3 or 4 days of work, I didn't have a garbage can, and I didn't know who to ask, and I felt like I didn't want to look stupid. So I was just bringing my garbage home every day. So I tell that story, I'm in
Yes.
charge of onboarding now.
Yes.
And I tell that story and to try to get people to realize like, we're all humans and I'm human and I can find you a garbage can.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we've come a long way.
But that's a really good point. Like, hey, do you have all the office supplies? We forget to ask people that. Like, I had a girlfriend working in Williston, and the bottled water, they're like, yeah, there's bottled water here. Well, she took one of the last bottled waters, so the next day she's carrying a case of water into work, and her boss is like, what the fuck are you doing? She's like, well, we're out of water. And he's like, you don't buy water and bring water. Like, she didn't know where the water was in the supply room. So don't think about that. Think of what people don't know about your company. And it's a lot. It's a lot. Calling before the start date, sending something home. You guys are not all, because we have way more people than anticipated. I'm gonna have some IOUs. But this is a snackle box. Snackle boxes are the newest and greatest trend. And so there are snacks in here. And people will send these to people's homes before they start. Send them a t-shirt. Send them something about your company. Send, anything to say, a card saying, we are so excited to have you start with us on Monday, da 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 da. If you have any questions before you get there, here's my cell phone number, whatever it is. Making those phone calls. Think of the impression that phone call makes before someone starts. Are you ready? Are you excited? Is there anything you need? We are so excited to have you. That's huge for people. Huge. And it makes a great impression. Onboarding, more involvement with all departments, you're absolutely right. Like, think of your company. We used to have job shadows within our company to basically learn. When I had my mechanics in school do 6 different job shadows, because I wanted them to know how to work with the parts department. I wanted them to know how to work with the sales department. So they did basically 6 2 to half day job shadows. Even with the salesman, there was twofold in that. I wanted them to very much understand our company, but the second part was me trying to figure out, where does this person fit long term? I want them to be a diesel technician for 8, 10, 12, whatever years they want to be. But then I don't want to lose that knowledge, because losing that knowledge is critical. So where does this person fit after what's that career path look like? Was another. So think of that within your own companies. Think of how many people that you promote internally. Start doing those job shadows, and then when you're having those annual interview questions, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, do you see yourself, do you want to advance within this company? Do you see yourself in any of the other positions? All of a sudden that conversation becomes more meaningful. And maybe right now they don't, but maybe 5 years down the road, that conversation is changing. Okay, so onboarding, be ready for them. Send something before they start, let people know they're coming. We've talked about all of this. Having a group lunch, saying, hey, let's learn about Lisa. Don't do it on Monday. Don't do it on her very first day. Do it on Wednesday or Thursday, because Lisa's way more comfortable and gonna talk to way more people after 2-3 days of being in the office. But have a welcome lunch. Do it once a month. Welcome all your new employees. Here's a lunch to learn about them. Offer tours. Always do tours of your company. Have open houses of your company. Let community people learn about your company. Bring your families into your company. Like, when you're hiring someone, you're hiring essentially their family. Like, work is a big part of your life. It means the world to me when my husband's boss will call and say, Annie, are you all right? Like, Matt's been gone for whatever. That means the world to me, that he knows that my life sucks because my husband's gone, traveling and working on the road. Get to know those employees. Treat those spouses, those kids. Involve kids. And so don't have a Christmas party where everyone gets drunk. Have a Christmas party where everyone brings their kids. I want to see people's kids. They grow up so fast. So have events where people are bringing their families, whether it's barbecues, whatever. Include your families in some of their events. Sure, you might have the after beers, da-da-da-da-da. That's fine. I'm not saying don't do that. But I'm saying find that mix where you're also involving your families, because again, you spend a lot of time at work and people want to know what you're doing and the people that you're working with. So that's always a good thing to do. Share about people in the newsletter. I just read something where they kind of said like about this person's family, what their hobbies are. People want to know about people. Like, oh, you play box bowling? I want to know that. I want to play you. Like, tell me more about that. People are intrigued by people. People want to get to know people. So How can your culture be improved? Culture is huge. Consistent communication. That's probably the number one thing businesses say is their issue is communication. It's hard to communicate with everyone. And communication is huge, transparency is huge. Adhere to your core values, remote team member involvement, ooh, that's a good one. Getting to know your employees. Every supervisor should know at least 4 things about their employees. I put a lot of notes in my husband's phone about his employees, so he remembers them. His foreman's kids' names, stuff like that that's important to them. More present leadership. That's huge. Hire culture growers, I love it. I love it. Engage employees in things outside day-to-day work to help them feel more belonging. I love that too. So, I do a lot of weird things. I take things out of bags, like we're gonna put our thinking caps on and do this. I walk around in dinosaur costumes. I had water balloon fights at my previous employer. So all of those aren't for everyone, right? Mechanics didn't necessarily wanna do my Easter egg hunt. But these people love the Easter egg hunt. So remember that when you do some of these culture activities, your target, there's no activity that everyone's gonna love other than tacos, right? Everyone loves tacos, but keep doing some of those things because not everyone is your market. So make sure you're doing things that kind of align with everyone. And if you have poor attendance, it didn't align with these people as many as these people. So don't quit doing those things. The biggest thing with culture is not foosball tables and all that. Is that part of it? Absolutely. But culture is exactly what you people said. It's communication. It's transparency. It's presence of leadership. Walk through all of your areas. Make sure your leaders, I don't know how big your organizations are, but make sure your leaders are walking through. You know, at General Equipment, I would always say that, like walk through the shop. Well, I don't always know what to say. Walk through on Monday. How was your weekend? Walk through on Friday. Any plans for the weekend? Easy, right? Just walking through the shop. And sometimes I had a presence in the shop as much as I possibly could. Sometimes I was just walking through the shop to walk through the shop. I wasn't stopping and talking to anyone. I pretended I was going somewhere and went back, right? Having that leadership presence. Think about, like, I'm sorry I focus on the mechanic world because it was my world for a long time. But think about those mechanics. Those are the ones keeping those customers up and running. But yet, leadership isn't always in the shop, right? No, because they're doing stuff up here with sales and whatever. So the meaningfulness of seeing those leaders in the shop is huge to people. The appreciation of, hey, thanks for doing this. Hey, thanks for working on days like today. There's mechanics outside working right now. That's crazy, right? Thank you for the work that you do. We appreciate you. Understanding, having that empathy from leadership goes a long, long way. Culture is basically your customer service to your employees. When a customer walks into leading edge equipment, I guarantee Jim wants them to be greeted. I guarantee Jim wants the facility to look clean. I guarantee Jim wants the employees to have the knowledge needed, right? No different than you to your employees. Have that communication. Have that transparency, right? You are expecting them to take care of your customers. How are you taking care of them? And that has changed, the culture of that has changed a lot too. Well, they have a job. They should just be happy they have a job. Well, they can go work anywhere. So you be happy, or you make sure that they're happy at that job, that you're doing some of those things that make them feel appreciated, that can motivate them. Culture is huge. And again, it's not just doing quirky things like giving them snackle boxes, like, hey, here's a snack box, or here's a free t-shirt. It's so much more than that. It's creating those meaningful relationships. creating that engagement in, this company matters to me, and this company cares about me, and this company is giving me what I need from a job, right? It's more than employment. It is some kind of engagement in your company. Years of service card, some of the cool things I did, years of service. Recognize, if someone has been with you for 5 years, you guys, that's an accomplishment. We used to think 25, 50, whatever. 5 years is an accomplishment. 1 year is accomplishment, 2 years accomplishment, 3 years accomplishment. Recognize some of those things. Walk through the work areas, do birthday cards. We did birthday cards, signed by the president. Happy birthday to you. Thank you for choosing us. Events, we talked about that. Not everyone's your audience, keep doing them. Some of you give away to, what's that day coming up in February? Giving Hearts Day. Like a lot of you will give to organizations in the community. Have your employees decide who you give to. Hey, we're gonna give out this much money. Who do you wanna nominate for this to go? Like, what's your passion? Is it domestic violence? Is it pets? Is it mental health? Whatever. Like, help your employees choose where you give to as a company. Do customer surveys. Share some of that. Like, when I went out and did meetings with customers, holy cows, all they talked about was how great our service department was. Sometimes that wouldn't have got repeated. For me, obviously it did, but holy cows, what are our customers saying? Thank you for the work you do. This is what our customers saying about our techs or about whatever. Giving them that kudos. Do an open house. Let the community learn about you. Include your brand in everything. Do exit interviews. If you do lose people, hey, you got 20 minutes to kind of talk, ask about everything. Ask somebody new that's been there a month and you can just see them engaging in your culture. Give me some feedback on our interview process. Give me some feedback on our application process. We want to make sure it's easy for people. Did it feel easy for you? Do stay interviews. Every employee that was at General Equipment for 3 years, I did a stay interview. Why do you stay working here? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And if we're doing something wrong, a follow up. Like, hey, I can't fix this, Margaret. We don't have a full family health plan because it's too expensive. Make sure you're following up with why you can't do something if it's something that you can explain. The why behind everything is huge. Why do we do it this way? We took iPhones away from mechanics, but we didn't tell them why. It's because it wouldn't do something with Cummins inside. It didn't understand all the tech stuff, and it's all fixed now. But we all of a sudden yanked their iPhone and gave them an Android, and we didn't tell them why. It's like we were doing it just to be mean, or that, and in people's minds go crazy, like, oh, iPhones are more expensive, so they're giving us Androids. No, that wasn't it at all, So explaining the why of why you're making changes, again, back to that transparency and communication. Why are you making this change? Quarterly check-ins, I love that. Every quarter checking in with employees, what's working, what's not working. So I don't want Kaylee to wait 1 year to tell me something that pisses her off. I want them to have that opportunity to be like, hey, can we do anything about this? This isn't working, bringing issues to the table that a lot of them can be fixed and will be fixed and should be fixed, and it creates a better environment for everyone, not just Kaylee. Then your culture is the impression you make in everything you do. How you communicate, your events, everything you do basically makes up your culture for your employees. It's everything we talked about at the beginning, which you guys put in the slides: respect and inclusion, clear mission and values, as well as communication, effective leadership, teamwork, recognition, and rewards is only part of it. When people say culture, that's what they think of. They think about, oh, they give us free stuff at work. That is part of culture, but it's not the real culture. The real culture is these. And this is where you retain your people. I got to do that for 10 years. Those are what my classes look like. Where are these kids sitting right now? Future classes, they're sitting in high school, and that was my introduction to Mr. Ryan Hansen, because your future employees are also sitting in high school. But Ryan, the school wants companies to engage with them. We need you guys to come in and be guest speakers. We need you to support Firebird of the Month. We need you to support, I have 85 sophomores job shadowing right now, 85. I need you to support those job shadows, because these kids are thinking, what am I gonna do for a career? We need the community to engage with the youth. You're welcome at the school. We do a career fair with parent-teachers conferences in the fall. We do a summer job fair, new this year, March 26th. I want you all there, like talk about the positions that you have. We want kids working in the summer. We know the value of work. You know, kids aren't gonna make necessarily a ton of money there in sports. They have a lot going on, right? But even if you can give a kid 2 shifts per week, think of the soft skills that's teaching that kid. Think of the responsibility that's teaching that kid. Show them your culture. Because they're gonna go like, this is what I got to do this summer, I did this, and da 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 da. So show students their culture, because they're gonna go to school and talk about that. So Ryan was just gonna talk about businesses engaging with the school and the opportunities to do so. Our next session, which is,
February 10th.
and then after that, we have a youth engagement one in March.
Oh, I'm sorry, 11th, February 11th.
Okay, what's the title of that one?
What are we doing in February?
Can't remember, sorry. The February one?
Yep.
Okay.
And then March 11th is
Yep.
is the next one.
Okay, March 11th is all gonna be a youth engagement. And with that, I will stay as long as needed today. So if after Ruth's reminders, you wanna talk to me about your company or you want ideas on something, I will stay here as long as you need me